This video will discuss MetaGami, specifically how to do development of applications within MetaGami. There are other videos that provide introductory information that overviews MetaGami itself, provides more specific information on people and users who would benefit from MetaGami. This one will go into more detail on how to use MetaGami. MetaGami is bimodal. It operates in the layout mode, as indicated by an upright green button, and the run mode, which is indicated when run is upright. The run mode is where people enter data into existing applications. The layout mode is where applications are created. In MetaGami, you do four basic things. You create pages, you put fields on pages, you indicate the nature of the field, and you connect fields with standard drag and drop capabilities, just as you would cells in Excel, except in MetaGami, we're connecting fields to one another, fields within a page and across pages. Let's get started by creating a new page. You do that very simply by clicking the New Page button. Now, the pages can be of different sizes and different backgrounds. That's for a later video. It's not pertinent at this point. Once we've created a page, we can create fields, each one with the click on the New Field button. Alternatively, we can use the right mouse when it's hovering over a page to create new fields. The right mouse is the consistent editing interface for MetaGami. Whether it's on a page, a field, paper stock, always the right mouse, when hovering over that object you want to edit, will bring up those opportunities that are specific to the object. In this case, we hovered over the page, so we get page opportunities. I put 6 fields on this page. I want to, as an example, assume that we're building a system to keep track of information in organizations that we want to work with. I mentioned there are 4 things we do. We've now created a page, created a field. The only interface ever with MetaGami is the page. On the field, the third thing I said we could do is identify the way the field's going to be used. There are 3 different ways to do that. In the case of a label, where we want to indicate that the field is going to contain company information, in this case, the name of the contact perhaps, and an email, we simply double-click on the field and type, and it becomes a label field. We then move the fields around so that the layout looks the way we want. I'm not going to worry about making this particularly pretty, although there are ways to do that as well. Now, at this point, we have the ability to click on the run mode and enter data. Unfortunately, we'll only be able to enter data for one company and the contact and email of that company. In fact, we want to enter data for multiple companies, and we accomplish that very easily. The second way that we can use a field is to hit the right mouse and call it an identifier field. We'll name it company. And you'll see that the nature of the field changes. We're going to make it a bit longer. The nature of the field changes to a drop-down field within which we can enter multiple company names. So let's say Microsoft, let's say IBM, let's say Mainstay. You'll notice that we don't have enough room for that email. We simply go back to the layout mode, extend the field size, and now finish what we were typing. Now, I didn't note this when we were doing it, but when I added a new value to the company field, I just typed it in. and it created, as a result, a separate instance of that data, the data being specific to the name in the identifier field. So we created Microsoft first. The data is there for Microsoft. There's IBM, and there's the data for Mainstay. I have 3 separate instances of this page template. Now, let's hit the right mouse and put this page away, and let's go look at some pages that have been created with this exact same technique. Here's the page. All of these items are fields. You can see the label fields, the identifier field. This field is a label. If I go to the layout mode, you'll see that I can hit the right mouse and the appearance tab and change the font. And that's all I did when building this field was I typed contact information into it, went to the font, changed it to 14, bold, italic, and navy, and it now is represented in a different fashion. So there we have, for example, IBM and more data about IBM, Mainstay, Apple, and the ability to say like that. In this case, I have 4 separate instances. Now here's where Mainstay really gets interesting. What's being done in the background is that a database is being created by MetaGami. The user doesn't need to know there is any such thing as a database. The database is created, maintained, and optimized by MetaGami. The user continues to operate in a totally dynamic mode, adding pages and fields, using the fields, and as you'll see in a moment, doing calculations without limitations and without needing to know anything about how to build a database. Let's put this page away, and let's go look at a second page that we built, because now I want to show you how the product MetaGami allows evolution of need as need arises. We've now determined we want to do an estimate of revenue and projected units sold for the future. We already have the names of the companies that we want to do the projections for, so we simply create another page. You know how to do this: labels, default data entry fields, and identifier fields. In this case, we can use the contact information. All we do in the layout mode is drag the company name over here, and we now have all of the companies that were on this page appearing over here. We add the months that we want to use, and we enter the data. 100 units to be sold at $375 to IBM in the month of January. If I want to add another company, for example, Ford, it automatically calculates over here, and I could go ahead and enter data for Ford if I so desired, simply creating a different instance. Perhaps I want to, for certain, I want to calculate the revenue derived from this. So in this case, another page, this field was calculated by dragging over the name of the company from here, the month by dragging over the names of the month from here, and then I do a calculation. Of course, revenue is calculated by multiplying units times price. So I hit the right mouse on the field, the standard edit option, I do a calculation, and I drag this field over, put an asterisk for multiplication, drag this field over, and there is my calculation. Now you'll notice that these fields are identified by the name of the page, followed by a colon in the name of the field. Typically, fields have a default value, always they have a default value based on the sequence of their creation on the page. This is field 108, thus F108. I could change this if I so desired to revenue, and that's how these fields got named over here. But now, when I look at IBM for the month of January, you'll see that $375 is the calculated, and this symbol indicates it's a calculated value from IBM for the month of January, 100 units times 375. Now, if I want to include text, word processing text, I build another page. I created my company and month values by simply dragging them from the other locations. In the layout mode, I wanted some boilerplate. I want to send the same text to each of the instances of this page, and I want them to be specific to the names on those pages and the months. So I typed our prospect, and then I dragged in company for the month of, and then I dragged in month. Will generate revenue of, then I dragged in this field. This is based on sales of, and I dragged the fields from this page to here to identify the units, and then from this field to identify the price. And now when I pick IBM for January, it declares the text to be specific to IBM for January with the appropriate revenue, units, and unit cost. If I were to change this to 250, it will change it here, it will change it here, and it will change it over here. Very useful, very easy capability, comparable but far easier than standard mail merge capabilities. Now, let's put everything away, hit the right mouse, and do that. I now want to show you how we would create a tabular view of that data. Here's a field. I now expand its size, and the third way I can modify its type of field is by hitting the right mouse and clicking Appearance. There are various ways to identify what this field is going to do. The default field you've seen. This would be a document field. You've seen that. This would be a spreadsheet field, which we rarely use because the MetaGami pages supplant spreadsheets and provide a more typical, appropriate interface most of the time. A table, multimedia for audios, videos, and images, barcode fields, and so on and so forth. I'm going to make this a table. I'm going to add some columns to it. And now let's open my projected sales and projected revenue pages, and let's drag the name of the company here, the name of the month here, units, the price field to column D, and revenue to column E. Let's now extend the size of this field and go to the run mode, and there's all of my data. And it will be updated as you saw previously when data is updated elsewhere. If I now want to see that in a printing mode, I've created that already, and here's the information in a handsome mode. There's far more that I want to talk about in this video about how to use the data, a couple of other things specifically with regard to how you can now retrieve this data using specific criteria. But in the interest of time and brevity, let me stop here. Thank you for your time. Additional information about how to use MetaGami can be found on our website at www.metagami.com. Please feel free to call me if you prefer at 303-478-9312. I will add another video that you can utilize that will take the next steps and show you another level of capability in MetaGami as well.